Hey everybody, how are you doing? And welcome to Transformation Tuesday. This is your morning devotion, and I pray already that your week has already started off well as your morning is starting off well. And today we're going to do as we always do. Let's dive right in to hear what God is saying unto us. Today is actually going to be a short context because what God is saying to us is short and simple. So in Genesis chapter 6, it talks about a man named Noah. And it tells us the scenery of everything that is going on in this time frame. Starting at chapter 5, going into chapter 6, you hear this full context of conversation where now the world is acting up. And as the world is acting up, basically, God now goes and finds a man named Noah. And when he goes to communicate with Noah, he's basically getting him to put him on an assignment to be able to build something. Now, what he's about to build has never been built before. We understand this context. Also, we understand that what God is saying he's about to do had never been seen before. Rain had never been seen before. But now God is now in chapter 6 having a conversation with Noah to let him know all the things that he needed to be able to know, not only to build, but so that he can understand the importance of what is happening. And so God wants us to know this morning something that we're going to read very quickly, and then is going to encourage us, and I pray that is going to push us into the right position. So in Genesis chapter 6, let's dive in and let's read verses 5 and verses 6. Chapter 6, verses 6 is the specific piece that we're going to actually pull from. But let's start at verse 5. And it says, "And God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." And verses 6, "And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart." So this morning, the conversation that I want to have with you today is this. Do you know God's heart? This is something that I believe is something that we have to all understand and hear clearly this morning. God calls Noah to this assignment to be able to build this boat or this ark, as we know. He gives him assignments on who needs to be in there, how many animal needs to be there, all the dimensions and the details of it all. But it all starts because God's heart was hurt. God's heart was hurt because of how man was acting on earth. Now, with this understanding, the reason why I ask, do you know God's heart, is because what God really wants us to be able to do and wants us to do is to seek his heart. The reason why he built an ark was because of God's heart. Because God's heart was hurt, God's heart was in pain because of the activity of man. God then used and chose a man to be able to build something that will be able to start all creation over. And we are in a time and in a season where we all should be and need to be making sure that we are seeking the heart of God to understand, God, what do you need and want to be done in this time? In this time, just like in Noah's time, it was chaotic. Man was doing what man wanted to do. It was so chaotic that, like it says in verses 5, it says, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." He kept doing and thinking negative and mean or evil things that would exclude God in their lives, and they kept on and kept on and kept on, and we're now seeing the similar things happening in our own day and time. But what we have to also recognize and see is that even in this moment where chaos was going on in the earth, God found a man that was seeking his heart. And in him finding this man that was seeking his heart, he gave him something to be able to help save the people, save the earth. And I believe that, being very honest, because of his seek of God's heart, that's why we are here today. And so in that same reference and same mentality, are you seeking God's heart? Are you seeking to hear what the God's heart is on the matter, no matter what it is? If it's your marriage, if it's your finance, if it's just your ministry, if it's your business, if it's your life, if it's whatever, are you seeking God's heart? Not asking God, God, can I get? No. Are you seeking God's heart to see what God wants to do? Because there is a dying world out here waiting for people to be able to hear what God is saying, what God's heart is in this time, so that they can be able to know how to accurately and effectively be able to build and help the people. So how do we do this? We have to seek his heart before we build. We have to seek his heart so that we can build to help the people. And God is saying, are you seeking my heart? So thank you this morning for coming on to the Transformation Tuesdays morning devotion, where we are here to be able to help transform our minds so that we can transform our very own lives. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'll see you right here next time on the Transformation Tuesday. Be blessed. Talk to you later.